Hello, thank you for joining us at the part two of the risk assessment. As you can see, here we are going to be analyzing with the new NEBOSH format of attending to the justification and the hazards. So here we'll be giving you insights of what NEBOSH need and how you are going to prepare your own. Please remember, do not copy what I write. It's only for you to understand how you are going to prepare your report, okay? So when you are preparing your report, you don't copy, you ensure that, okay, when you are writing this, you look at the way I prepared mine, prepare yours as well, and ensure the hazard you use are realistic. Every hazard you are writing, the justification will be according to the hazard you are writing. So if you are writing 10 hazards, you are writing uh, three justification of the most, the most hazardous, the most dangerous work that they are doing there. Maybe they paint a lot, because of the inhalation of paint or chemical. If it's a construction site, inhalation of dust, and so on and so forth, depending on the organization or the type of organization you are using for your report. Okay. Now, confined space, hazard category and hazards. You see, like the old type, they put the hazard category and hazard on the left, then who might be harmed next, then what are you already doing? It's just like taking that page, then turning it from horizontal to vertical, or from vertical to horizontal, I'm sorry. You see, what are the hazard category and hazard? Your hazard category is confined space hazard. An hazard category, an hazard is using of damaged welding cable in a confined space without respiratory protective equipment in a confined space. You see, someone is working in a confined space and is working without RPE, which means if there should be a problem, maybe by mistake or by chance, is digging up something, then he bursts a pipe of chemical. How is he going to survive? Then who might be harmed and how? Who is that person working inside the confined space? Some people will just say the worker working in the confined space is at threat of suffocation. You can not expect, a driver to be working inside a confined space because his job is not there. So you have to be specific. This shows you understand what you are doing. That is why they tell you, even if you want to use a false name, you can use a false name, but you have to be realistic. You have to ensure that, yes, what you are saying is true. So that's why I'm giving this. The welder is the person who might be harmed. And how might he be harmed? Through suffocation and electrocution. If there's loss of oxygen or by chance or by mistake, the damaged cable was laying on a metal pipe or metal anything is using, then he rested on it, he might be electrocuted to death. Then what are you already doing? Proper inspection of the welding cable before doing the work, during doing the work, and after doing the work. You see, this shows these are the things you are putting in place since you were aware of what they are doing. And number two example is welding helmets with side shield, okay, that can protect workers from ultraviolet radiation, particle, hot slab, and chemical burns. Because when they are welding, you see those fumes coming out. If it's too much that it goes to the level that the oxygen in that place is limited, then all you can breathe in is that fume. You know you are going to pass out. So all these things have to be put in place. And provision of respirators. Respirators are respiratory protective equipment that has filter. You see, not just the nose mask. It has filter where even if you are welding and the fume is too much, that filter will, it will remove the bad chemicals. It won't let it penetrate, so you can breathe in normal air. Okay, to protect workers from fumes and oxide causing through welding process creation. What further actions or controls are required that you can prepare? You see, training workers about hazards that occur during welding activities in confined space. You see, when you are about to carry out your task, the person that is being brought to you might not have much of the experience of a confined space. He might have years of experience working outside, but not even a single month of working in a confined space. You see, like people preparing this oil and gas tank, you can see it has only just one small entry and they have to weld inside. These are the kind of things I'm talking about, okay? Or people excavating that they have to, like miners, they have to go into a small mountain and start excavating till they pass through to the other side. All these are the type of people we are talking about, okay? Depends on the kind of contract. So I'm just giving you this as an example. Anything you want to write, you don't pick hazard from different places. You have to pick hazard only from that work site. I'm only picking this one just for example, okay? So you can work towards it. Guide workers on preventive and control measures of the risk associated with welding activities. To say what are the risks and hazard associated with the kind of activity they carry out on the site you are writing about, okay? Close monitoring and competent supervision. How do you monitor people that are working? Because most people, if there's no safety on site or there's nobody to supervise them, they just misbehave anyhow they like. Okay. Then ensure certified first aiders and first aid equipment are available. You see, anyone going into a confined space has to go with a first aid box. Maybe he got bruised and the blood is not stopping anytime soon. Before help arrive, he can easily just open the first aid box, remove what do they call? Remove the plaster or celloplast. You can clean the wound and put it himself. Or if there's somebody there to assist him, somebody can do that before help arrives. So proper ventilation of the area is in place by providing portable air conditioning unit. You see, like the miners, all they do is there's a machine that pass a pipe to bring air into that hot zone or where they are, which if they feel too hot or they are gasping for air, they just leave where they are working, they go inside like a room, it's well ventilated. You just stay there, you rest for maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes, then you go back to your workplace, okay? These are further actions that are required. And the work area must be isolated with barricaded and adequate signages. You see, writing signs does not show how professional you are. This is why I talked about you using terms. Instead of writing signs, there are lots of signs. Even if I do my hand like this to, someone who has hearing impairment, it has a meaning, and those are signs as well. Signages means the board that are positioned on the sites, okay, for people to understand that there's work going on here, please don't come here. And it's barricaded with, hard barricadation, like we talked about in the hierarchy of control, okay. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment for welding tasks, such as welding glove, apron, face shield, and respiratory protective equipment. So I just write respiratory protector, so I don't just repeat what I've been saying since. Provision of panic button or alarm in every confined space. What is a panic button? You see, if something happened to you, before you react, it takes 3 seconds. When it happened that you see, before your brain processes it, that's the second, and before you act on it, that's the third second. It's called 3 seconds rule. Most of you who went through driving school, you would understand what I'm talking about. If there's a problem, it's called SOS, for emergency. These kind of things are provided for, should be provided for people working in a confined space. Maybe it might be just one touch of a button that immediately you feel dizzy. All you just need to do is press it. You see, beacon light might come up. You see that like a siren might come up, so people will know there's a problem. Or silent alarm will come up in the office, so people will know, yeah, something is happening. Or there will be a loud alarm, whoa, 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 that somebody will know, yeah, there's a problem. So people can evacuate and they can, or help can come to assist whoever is there. Which is this? Okay. And time scale for further actions to be completed. How fast do you want that job to be? completed. Okay. This time scale means according to how fast you want the solution to be attended to. How fast I mean is, you may think, okay, this job should be done in 1 month, like providing PPE should be done under 2 days or 3 days or 4 days. These are the kind of things I'm talking about. So it depends on how fast you want that to be. If you want it to be done under 6 months, you have to explain it there. If you want it to be done under 3 months, you have to explain it there. And what you're explaining in this time scale is, as I'm writing provision of panic or button alarm, you have to say, okay, as per number 8 or number 7, panic alarm must be provided within 2 months. You don't just write time scale would be according to how fast you want the solution to be. You write your time scale that, okay, this must be provided within 1 week, this must be provided within 2 weeks, this must be provided within 3 weeks. And those things that must be provided are the further control actions that are required. And who are the responsible people for the job title? These are safety manager, safety officer, foreman, supervisor. And the 1, 2, 3, 7, 8 is according to this. What further control measures? You see, like the old one, what further control measures are you putting in place or actions are required? So that's why I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, so you can understand what I'm talking about. If you would like to join the group of HSE, the link also will be put down below for the WhatsApp. So if you have any question, you have any problem you need to solve, this also will be included there. And thank you very much for watching and hope you have a lovely day ahead. Ciao.